Welcome to the Talent Journey, a video podcast where an outsider like me asks dumb questions so you don't have to. Along the way, we'll learn about the stories of how our talent leader guests got where they are and pick up some nuggets of wisdom from their experience that you can use in your own journey to become a better recruiter, employer brander, and talent leader. I'm your host, Justin Vaco, and today we're talking with Kara Kirby. Kara is an experienced leadership consultant and CEO of Insights Leadership Group. With a passion for understanding human interactions in the workplace, she spent the last 16 years developing programs that have propelled businesses and cultures to award-winning levels. Today, she works with organizations all over the world to achieve the same success. Based in North Carolina, Kara is a Texas native who enjoys spending time with her husband and two energetic boys. In her free time, she loves reading, hiking, and embarking on new adventures. She also hosts the popular podcast, Pop, on leadership. Kara, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. Happy to be here.
Can you explain to me what you do like I'm a young child?
Yes, I can. So I'm trying to imagine you right now as a 5-year-old, which I have one of those in my house. So sometimes if you are on the playground and you're learning a new game, let's say you're learning hopscotch, you are learning how to jump rope, you're learning something in the gym, you have somebody there that really, really knows that game and they study it all the time and they can be there to teach you how to play that game. Because you're probably not going to intuitively know how to play it. You might think that you can, right? Because you could jump on one foot. Everybody can jump on one foot, but there's little things that you might not know that can make you better at that game. What I do is I go in and I work with big kids and help them be better at their games because that's all I do all day is study this game.
And what is this game? Now let's talk adult language here now.
What I do in adult terms is I host a lot of workshops. So I work with leadership teams. I work with new leaders. I work with companies that want to make a great culture, great places to work. And I consult with them. So I figure out what they're trying to accomplish. And then we design experiences, we design workshops, we design learning programs so it can get them to where they want to be in their culture.
Question about that, get them where they want to be in their culture. What types of employers what kind of people, want to improve their culture? Because I work with employers, that's, my agency, and not everybody wants that. What makes somebody want that?
I am in a special situation where I worked for a company that was really known for their culture. People first was everywhere. Everybody knew that they flipped the pyramid. So the pyramid that people were taught in the 80s is that shareholders, you take care of them above anybody else, and then it's the customers, and then it's the employees, right? So we flipped it and said, if you take care of the employees, everything else will fall in line. And they were wildly successful, and they were wildly known for having a people first culture. And so I'm in a different situation where most people that come and talk to me via my content or via knowing me from that company, because I was everywhere at that company, they had a taste of it. They knew how good it could be. They know how good it can be when teams are working well with each other, when there's a positive environment. And so they're coming and they're asking me the question, how do I create a positive environment? How do I create a positive culture? And that I have the answer to because I've lived it.
I was talking with I have a mentor and we meet these days less often than I'd like, but we met this morning actually. And we were talking about the cycles of, poor leadership at the top and then great leadership at the top, how poor leadership begets poor employees and more poor leadership and good leadership begets more good leadership. So you're seeing, would you agree? I mean, is that something you're seeing? People that are good leaders, they want to build good cultures and.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes when people want to come and talk to me, I ask them, I say, what books do you read? Like, what leadership philosophies do you subscribe to? And if people fumble, or like one time I had someone reach out to me and they were like, we want you to come turn our leadership culture around. And I was like, great. What is the methodology at the top? And they were like, well, we're not going to tell our senior leaders. We're going to do this from the ground. And I was like, that's impossible. If you do not have strong values, you do not have a strong understanding of leadership at the top of an organization, it is going to make, I hate to say this, but I don't even know if it's possible to have a good culture unless you have it from the top. In a most ideal world is that you have a great culture, but sometimes it's hard to tackle that all at once because culture lives and breathes with every single person. And a leader, if you can help affect leaders and help them kind of change a belief system or see things a little bit differently, I think it is the most powerful point to change inside of that system. And what I like to do actually is get all of the leaders together so that you are creating a system of knowledge that's different and a belief system that's different, so that they can all work together and then create and then have that cascade.
So group leadership training.
Yes,
Yeah, everyone on the same page at the same time.
totally.
So what's something you wish more people knew about in your world?
When I do talks, one of my big topic from last year was this conversation around leadership reluctance. Leadership research specifically, I mean, this applies to a lot of research. Most of it was done a very long time ago, and the sample size was just on college men. So it doesn't really apply to women. Sometimes it doesn't apply to introverts. There does people of color. Like, there is so much population that is left out of what is deemed leadership and like good leadership skills. And I wish people realized and understood that leadership is a practice. It's a daily practice, and it's the actions that you do. It's not who you are. And we know this, it's been debunked, right? Like, we know that leadership, you're not born with leadership anymore. Like, that was debunked in like the 1920s, but we still feel the residue of it, where people are like, I'm not a leader. I could never tell people what to do. I hear that all the time. It's like, leadership isn't about telling people what to do. It's about getting a group of people together and helping them create good results. And it's about you having really intentional conversations and helping people figure out their potential and giving them the tools to be great. And most of the time, what's interesting is the people that I see that will tell me I'm not a leader are already leading. They're already the most capable leader on the team, but they have a mental block in their head. So I wish more people understood that leadership is a practice. It's not a person. And if you are leading an organization, you need to understand that as well, because sometimes that bias gets mixed up into who you're selecting as leaders. How many times are we gonna promote the highest performer and then be like, why aren't they creating other high performers? It's like, well, Joe told you he hated people, but you still promoted him because he was the top performer. Why? Look at other things, unpack some of those biases and some of those paradigms you have in your head, and make different decisions with it. Because if I get back to our first conversation, if you have great leaders in place, you have people that care about people, who understand how to leverage and get the strengths out of the people on a team, you're creating a good culture, and good cultures create better humans.
What's something you think is overrated nowadays in the talent space? And what do you think what's underrated in the talent space?
Performance reviews. And if you follow me online, you know that I'm passionate about this. I think it wastes everybody's time. I think it demoralizes an organization. I actually just read The Man Who Broke Capitalism, which is about the legacy of Jack Welch, which, I mean, a lot of people attribute, firing the bottom 10% of the organization, stack ranking, right, and performance reviews to him. And none of it was ever about building a high performance culture. It was just about cost cutting. And GE actually was not successful. They were just cooking the books. So we all of these little things that were created because people thought that GE was so successful are still alive and well in our organizations, and they are not creating any value.
So what's something that's overrated? What's something underrated?
I think right now, something that is underrated is leaders understanding the art of facilitation. So when we broke off into COVID, everyone, what they did was take all of their online processes and stick them in front of a computer. And so now what we're having is the entire workforce having an existential crisis because they're in meetings every single second of the day. People don't understand the purpose behind them. They're inviting literally everyone to every meeting. Like, it's a problem. And I think that if leaders can understand, they can learn things like Miro, like online sticky notes. They can learn how to operate a workshop. They can understand what designates a workshop versus an email versus just get on the phone and talk to somebody while you go on a walk. Like, I think that like leaders that understand this concept that what they are now is a virtual facilitator is underrated, but I think that it's going to it has the potential to get a lot better, because I'm a big proponent of virtual work, especially for parents. Women make decisions when they're 16 years old, what kind of career they're going to have, if they're going to be if they're going to have a career or they're a mother. Virtual work allows people to not have to make that decision because they can have both. What a gift that we get to give to this younger generation. But if we don't figure this stuff out, people are just going to go back to status quo, and that's not where we need to go.
So last question for you, Kara, thinking back on your life, what bit of advice would you give yourself, your younger Kara self, about anything there is, coming to related to your career or your life?
It would just be to chill out a little bit. I had a very big scarcity mindset whenever I was younger. If you read, I don't know if you had a big MySpace account like I did. I think we're pretty similar in ages.
I never got into MySpace. I just skipped right over that phase. I had friends that were huge into it.
If you read what I had this questionnaire, and if you read what I was going to accomplish by the age of 30, it was aggressive. It was 7 languages. I was going to have a PhD and I don't know what was going on with me. And I was in grad school and I was 24, and I remember being hard on myself because I was 20. Because I promised myself I would be done with graduate school by the time I was 25. And I beat myself up for months at a time because I didn't hit that target. And I'm not alone, right? A lot of people beat themselves up, and they think the world is a scarce world. And I would tell every young person, breathe. You don't have to get all of your success by 30 years old. Life is a process, and just try to work hard, but also try to live in joy and go to yoga. Meditate and go to yoga and take a breath. But you might not be as much of a head case as I was whenever I was that age.
I think you're right. I think a lot of us in our 20s were very this, I've got just not enough time.
Yeah. I was if everything does not happen by 30 years, and now I'm almost 40, right? If everything doesn't happen by 30, then I'm a failure. Why? Who told me that?
So Kara says, slow down, enjoy the journey where you are. Things will figure themselves out over time. There's no race here. Literally, there's no race.
There's no race.
Well, thank you, Kara, for being here today. Where can people learn more about you?
So you can find me, I'm all over the place on the internet. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I write a lot on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram at Insights Leadership. You can also find me on TikTok at Insights Leadership Kara. And we just released our 2nd season of our podcast, Pop on Leadership. So we take episodes of great TV that talk about work. We're really focusing on Ted Lasso right now, but we've done The Bear. And I think we're going to do Emily in Paris. So we unpack the leadership and org lessons that are inside of these shows. So Ted Lasso is our big one, and that people love the most. So that the 2nd season's out right now because season 3 of Ted Lasso is coming out in May. So we're getting ready for that.
I love that. I love that perspective, tying in pop culture with workplace development, organizational development, and leadership. That's fascinating. Well, thank you again, Kara, for being here. And we'll make sure everybody has a link to those things in the show notes. And thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Talent Journey podcast with your host, Justin Vaco. To learn more about Dialogue, visit recruitwithdialogue.com.